सहनौ भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। मुरहर नगधर मुकुन्द माधव मुरहर नगधर मुकुन्द माधव गरुडगमन पंकजनाभा गरुडगमन पंकजनाभा परम पुरुष भव भंजन केशव परम पुरुष भव भंजन केशव नर मृग शरीर नमो नमो नर मृग शरीर नमो नमो नारायण ते नमो नमो भव नारद सन्नुत नमो नमो आदिदेव सकलागम पूजित यादव कुल मोहन रूपा आदिदेव सकलागम पूजित यादव कुल मोहन रूपा वेदोद्धार श्री वेंकटनायक वेदोद्धार श्री वेंकटनायक पुरंदर विठ्ठल नमो नमो पुरंदर विठ्ठल नमो नमो नारायण ते नमो नारदसन्नुत नमो नमो नारदसन्नुत नमो नमो ॐ यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै. Let us chant from verse number 6. महाभूतान्यहङ्कारः बुद्धिरव्यक्तमेव च इन्द्रियाणि दशैकं च पञ्चचेन्द्रियगोचराः इच्छा द्वेषः सुखं दुःखं सङ्घातश्चेतना धृतिः एतत् क्षेत्रं समासेन सविकारमुदाहृतम् अमानित्वमदम्भित्वम् आचार्योपासनं शौचं स्थैर्यमात्मविनिग्रहः इन्द्रियार्थेषु वैराग्यम् अनहङ्कार एव च दुःखदोषानुदर्शनम् असक्तिरनभिष्वङ्गः पुत्रदारगृहादिषु नित्यं च समचित्तत्वम् इष्टानिष्टोपपत्तिषु मयि चानन्ययोगेन भक्तिरव्यभिचारिणी विविक्तदेशसेवित्वम् अरतिर्जनसंसदि अध्यात्मज्ञाननित्यत्वं तत्त्वज्ञानार्थदर्शनम् एतत् ज्ञानमिति प्रोक्तम् अज्ञानं यदतोऽन्यथा. Kshetrajña is none other than the Supreme Lord. Kshetrajña, the one who knows all kshetras without exception, is none other than the Supreme Lord Himself. He is Ananda Swarupa, Amrita Swarupa, Ananta Swarupa. This is the nature of Drashta in us, the observer in us. This observer is the pure consciousness. Bhagavan says, Kshetrajñam chapi mam vidhi. Know me to be the Kshetrajña. Where? Sarva kshetreshu, in all the bodies. So it means that our true nature is Satchidananda. We are none other than Paramatmas. So our true nature is Paramatma alone. But then what is the mistake we have made? This Paramatma, the moment it identifies with the body, mind, intellect, this Paramatma degrades to the status of Jivatma. So when Kshetrajña identifies with Kshetra, what is born is Jivatma. So Jivatma is none other than Paramatma. Jivatma is none other than Paramatma with identification with Kshetra. Jivatma is none other than Paramatma with the wrong notion that some part of Kshetra is a part of Kshetrajña. Jivatma is none other than Paramatma which has identified with the Kshetra. So these are all different explanations possible, all are right. Jivatma is none other than Paramatma with ignorance. What is ignorance? Considering some part of Kshetra to be a part of Kshetrajña is called ignorance. What is knowledge? Kshetra can never become the part of Kshetrajña. That is knowledge. Kshetrajña is the knower, Kshetra is the known. How can knower and the known become one? This is perfect knowledge. So when this knowledge is absent, what happens? A part of Kshetra is misunderstood as the part of Kshetrajña. A part of Drishyavastu is misunderstood as part of Drashta. That is why it is called ignorance. That is why it is called wrong notion. What is perfect knowledge? Kshetrajña can never become Kshetra. Kshetra can never become Kshetrajña. Observer and the observed, they are two different entities which can never come together. Right. But because of the power of Maya, there is something called identification. When the Kshetrajña identifies with Kshetra, gets attached to Kshetra, then what happens? Something happens, that Kshetra becomes as though a part of Kshetrajña. That Kshetra as though becomes one with Kshetrajña. That is the property of identification. It is exactly like a mother who is too attached to the child. Now, according to that mother, that child is not a different entity, it is me. It is not even mine, it is me. See, this is the extreme case where very clearly I know that this child is not mine, but because of intense attachment, now I don't feel child as different from me, I consider that child as me only. Later on, Bhagavan is going to describe it as Abhishwanga. So much of identification, so much of attachment that very clearly the senses say that it's a different entity, but I don't see that entity as different. I see it as me. So this is the power of the mind. This is the power of Maya. Something which is different from me can become me if I get too much attached to it. Right. So, that Paramatma, because of identification, because of attachment with the body, mind, intellect, which is nothing but Kshetra, that Paramatma degrades to become Jivatma. So we are all none other than Paramatmas. What is the mistake we have done? identification is the mistake we have done. Attachment is the mistake we have done. Attachment with what? With the equipments called body, mind, intellect. So now what are we experiencing? We are experiencing imperfection. This imperfection is not the property of the self. It is not the property of Atma. It is the property of Anatma, the body, mind, intellect. It is the property of the Kshetra. But because I am one with the Kshetra, now the properties, the imperfect properties of the Kshetra, it has as though become my property. So if I have to get rid of this imperfection, what I should do? Swamiji, one solution is let us improve the body, mind, intellect. Is it a possible solution? No. How much will you improve the body, mind, intellect? How much ever you improve, body has to perish. How much ever you improve the mind cannot become perfect. It is just not possible. So the only solution now we have is, the problem has been created by identification. So therefore the solution is disidentification, detachment. But disidentification has to be done by the mind, because identification has happened because of the mind. So what is that mind which is a fit instrument for disidentification? So we say a pure mind. What is the definition of a pure mind? A mind which is filled with noble virtues of life. Such a mind is called a pure mind. So if this question is asked to us, why should the mind be purified? Why should the noble values of life be lived? Especially when people have this wrong notion that good people are suffering in this world, bad people are enjoying. This is a very common, question raised in all platforms. Why do good people suffer? So in such a world, why should I be good? Why should I practice the noble values of life? So this is the answer. What is the answer? My goal of life is liberation. I am already perfect. But because my mind is attached to the imperfect BMI, I am suffering in life. So what is the solution? Disidentification is the solution. But for that disidentification, I must have a prepared mind. To prepare the mind, I am cultivating the noble values of life. Now this clarity has to be there. Only then we can truly, wholeheartedly, sincerely practice the noble values of life. Because in the society you will find 99% of the people going the other way, taking shortcuts, taking the illegal, immoral, unrighteous, corrupt ways. So in such a world, there is always a temptation to take the shortcut. So at that time, we should be very clear about the purpose of life. Otherwise, we will not be able to stick to the path of righteousness. I am righteous. I am walking the path of truth because I have to train the mind in goodness, in purity. Because with this mind, I have a very big job at the seat of meditation. If this clarity is there, then we will be not compromising with the higher values of life. So yesterday we were seeing the values. We have finished verse number 9. Verse number 10 we are supposed to see now. So what is the term? Asaktihi. Asakti. Absence of asakti is called asakti. Asakti means what? Attachment. Attachment is called asakti. Absence of it is called asakti. The intense form of asakti is called abhishwanga. You will see that. Asaktiranabhishwanga. So what is abhishwanga? So, anabhishvangaha putra dara grihadishu. This is the term given. So, what is this abhishvanga? The intense form of sakti is abhishvanga. The intense form of attachment is called abhishvanga. What do you mean intense form of attachment? So, Bhagavan Shankarāchārya says, abhishvangaha nama sakti visheshaha eva. The intense form of sakti is called abhishvanga. What is the nature of it? Ananyātma-bhāvana lakshanaha. What is the characteristics of abhishvanga? Ananya atma bhavana. This person is not different from me. It is not anya, it is ananya. Means this person is me only. Yatha anyasmin sukhini dukhini va aham eva sukhi dukhi. Jivati mriteva aham eva jivami marishyami cha iti. This is called as abhishvanga. So when that person is happy, I feel I am happy. When that person is miserable, I am also extremely miserable. When that person is alive, I feel I am alive. When that person is dead, I feel I am dead. This kind of intense attachment is called abhishvanga. So towards which, towards what is it directed to? So here it is given putra, dara, griha, adishu. Some samples are given here. Generally, abhishvanga happens in these places. Putra, son, daughter, etc. Dara, wife, husband, etc. Griha, adishu. Griha means one's own house. So it is not necessary that you have to get identified with sentient entities. It can be insentient also, griha, etc. also. So much you are attached that you don't see any difference. Adishu is used, etc. What is etc.? It can happen with your dog also. That person is so attached to one's own dog, such people are there. You can't call that dog a dog. You have to call his son, his daughter. Swamiji, don't call it a dog. It is my son, it's my daughter. That is called as abhishvanga. No difference at all. So, anabhishvanga means absence of this attachment. So, here see the greatness of this quality called identification and attachment. Something which is totally different from me, I feel it is me. Then what to talk of BMI attachment? Intense form. See? To the extent the kshetra becomes a part of Kshetrajña, to that extent that person is evolving or devolving? Devolving. Understand this. So when I am so attached to my dog, what I will become? My life will be like a dog only. Why? What is identification? When I identify with that, I become that. You see? I become that. So I am going there. When I identify with the higher, I become higher. When I identify with the lower, I become lower. Choice is ours. When I identify myself with that pure consciousness in me, I raise to the status of God. But when I identify with dog, I fall to the status of dog also. Both options are there. You can climb up the ladder, you can go down the ladder. Both options are there. The question is, with what are you attached to? With what are you identified to? Bas. Both options are open. Right. Abhishvangaha, anabhishvangaha putradara grihadishu. Next one. Nityam cha samachittatvam ishta anishta upapattishu. Samachittatvam. The ability to remain tranquil, undisturbed. When ishta, anishta, upapattishu. When ishta and anishta comes, what is ishta? Sukha is ishta, that which I like. Dukkha is anishta. Mana is ishta, apamana is anishta. Jaya is ishta, parajaya is anishta. Ninda is anishta, stuti is ishta. So life is full of these pairs of opposite. The ability to remain undisturbed amidst these pairs of opposites. Samachittatvam, quietude of mind. You are at your best when the mind is quiet. You are at your worst when the mind is disturbed. So if you have to handle any situation, remember you are at your best only when the mind is peaceful. So therefore, my greatest responsibility is to ensure that my mind is at peace. Nityam cha samachittatvam ishta anishta upapattishu. Nityam is the term used. Nityam means what? All the time. Nityam doesn't mean every day. Nityam means every moment. Then, Maijananya yogena bhaktihi avyabhicharini. Bhakti, devotion to the Lord. My bhakti, devotion to me, Bhagavan says. Who is this me? Not the son of Vasudeva. Who is me? Kshetrajña, Atma, devotion unto me, the self in you, the witness in you, the knower in you, the consciousness in you. Devotion. What kind of devotion? Ananya yogena. Ananya yoga means what? Yoga of no otherness. No otherness. Ananya. Ananya. What is anya? Anything other than Kshetrajña is anya. Let it be very clear. Anything other than Kshetrajña. And how many Kshetrajñas are possible? Only one. So that self in you, that consciousness in you, that witness in you, that Atma in you is called Ananya. So Ananya yogena, fixing your attention completely upon that self in you, the observer in you, the consciousness in you. There alone you must surrender. That is called as Ananya yoga. Shifting your attention to that witnessing consciousness in you. That is called as Ananya yoga. You will always find that whenever the mind goes there, the mind is at peace. Why? Mind is at peace because it is Ananda Swarupa. The moment the mind goes towards your center, towards that witnessing consciousness, when it abides for some time, you will find the mind is at peace. Even when the world is full of problems, you may be amidst problems, but if the mind is rooted in the center, in that consciousness, you will experience Ananda. Because the nature of consciousness is Ananda. Ananya yogena. Bhakti. What kind of bhakti? Avyabhicharini bhakti. Avyabhicharini bhakti means what? Non-wavering devotion. When does it waver? Generally the devotion wavers when I don't get what I want from God. I pray for something and God has not given. Suddenly my devotion wavers. As long as God is giving what I want, my devotion is wonderful. The moment pain comes, insult comes, humiliation comes, desireless things come, dukkha comes, ninda comes, apamana comes, parajaya comes, then what happens? There is a tendency for the mind to drop God, to dislike God, to complain against God, to turn away from God, Bhagavan says, don't do it. So a true devotee is the one who knows that God is not only my wish fulfiller, He is also my well-wisher. So very many times in life, pain is necessary for my evolution. Suffering is necessary for my evolution. Disease is necessary for my evolution. Unpleasant environment is necessary for my evolution. So therefore, Bhagavan without compromise, He gives pain and suffering. That is the time we have to be careful. Let us not have this devotion wavering. Let it not decrease. Right? With firm faith, we should hold on to God. So two conditions are mentioned here. Number one, the yoga of no otherness. Number two, the yoga of unwaveringness. Two aspects have to be taken care. In fact, if you have this bhakti, all other virtues will come to you. That Bhagavan Himself is going to say later. The one thing among all the values, if there is one thing, if you are to choose bhakti. Rest, everything will follow. When you get attached to God, detachment from everything else, abhishwanga, asakti, everything will happen automatically. When you get attached to God, amanitvam, adambitvam will automatically happen. Right? Yes. Then, vivikta desha sevitvam. Vivikta desha sevitvam. Sevitvam. That habit of resorting to vivikta desha. Vivikta desha means vijana desha, solitude, solitary place. That habit of resorting to solitary place. This habit we have to cultivate. Very many people are there in this world who cannot stand solitude, who cannot stand being alone. They want somebody or the other always with them. There are many people like that. All the time people have to be there around them. If nobody is there, they will switch on the TV. Some ladies are there. While working in the kitchen, the TV is loudly going on. They feel that somebody is there, something is happening, and they are happy. Or they want their house very next to some very busy, road. When a lot of activities are there, they feel comfortable. There are some people who just sit by the roadside just to see that, crowd is moving. There are such people because they can't stand being alone, being in silence. They're all diseases of the mind, psychological diseases. You will not believe there are people who switch on the light and sleep because they are so scared of darkness. Light is all the time on even when they are sleeping. The amount of psychological disorders are innumerable. So don't do this. Vivikta desha sevitvam. You must cultivate this habit of being happy in your own company. Even when you are all alone without anything, you must be cheerful and happy. Remember, we have come all alone, we'll be going all alone. So let us enjoy even when we are all alone. So when we are all alone, we are in the company of our mind. We are with our mind. Who is our companion? Our own mind. So if you cultivate all these noble virtues in the mind, you will never be disgusted with your mind. Why is it that I don't like my own company when I am alone? When I am alone, I am with my mind. If that mind is a vicious mind, impure mind, then I cannot stand my own company. Because that mind becomes active then. But if the mind is filled with virtues, then I would just love my own company. Vivikta desha sevitvam. In fact, when I am alone, I start feeling the presence of Bhagavan. If that is the way mind has been trained. If there is bhakti for Bhagavan, so when I am alone, I am not alone, I am with God. And with God, definitely, it is a joy to be with God. Why? Because He is perfection incarnate. He is Ananda Swarupa. So to what extent you have progressed in spirituality, if you want to measure, see to what extent you are enjoying your own company. How happy you are doing nothing, being with yourself. It's a measure. So vivikta desha sevitvam. So here Bhagavan Shankarāchārya writes, choose a place which is spiritually clean and physically clean. Two aspects are mentioned. What is physical cleanliness? Physical cleanliness, we know it should be physically clean. Now there is something called spiritual cleanliness also. What is that spiritual cleanliness? Spiritual cleanliness means when you sit in that place, you should feel like meditating. A place which has spiritual vibration. For example, when you are sitting in a temple, you feel like going within. When you are sitting in your puja room, you feel like going within. So there are certain places which are conducive for meditation. And there are other places which are absolutely not conducive for meditation. You feel like going out. You go to a mall. You don't feel like meditating there. You feel like becoming extrovert, isn't it? Railway station. They are not suitable place for meditation, etc. Of course, advanced seekers can meditate anywhere. But generally there are places which are conducive and which are non-conducive. So choose such a place which is conducive for meditation and make it a habit to remain alone. Now and then we must go to solitude. Now and then. Why is it necessary? It is necessary because that worldliness is so strong. Unless we do our sadhana now and then, the world will suck us into itself. That is the power of this world. Very, very powerful. Vivikta desha sevitvam. Now see the next lemon. Aratihi Janasamsadi. Janasamsadi aratihi. Arati means what? Absence of rati. Rati means reveling. So arati means non-reveling in Janasamsat. Janasamsat means public gathering. Not reveling in the public gathering. What does it mean? So Bhagavan Shankarāchārya writes, because public gathering means what? Satsanga also is a public gathering only. So Bhagavan Shankarāchārya writes, Janānām Prakritānām Samskara-shūnyanām Avinītānām Sansat Janasamsat. So what is this Janasamsat? Not any gathering, but the gathering of this kind of people. What kind of people? Prakritānām Samskara-shūnyanām. I am sure you must be. So those people, Samskara-shūnya, totally uncultured. Avinītānām, there is no humility, there is only arrogance, pomp and show off. This is what you will find generally in the world. Yes or no? Prakritānām. Prakrita means what? Prakriti means nature. So Prakrita means natural. What is natural? Kama, Krodha, Raga, Dvesha is natural. No sadhana need to be done to cultivate all this. It is there plenty in us. That is called as Prakrita. Right? So those people who have not cultivated themselves, the uncultured ones, the unrefined ones, the impure ones, the arrogant ones, extroverted ones, the sensuous ones, the worldly ones, That is what is being said here. So, aratihi, not reveling in their company, not liking their company. So, whenever such worldly gatherings are there, run away from there. Because they will only pollute your mind, they will only degrade you. The company has a tremendous influence upon the mind. If you are in the worldly company, the mind will absorb the worldly samskaras. If you are in a spiritual company, the mind will absorb spiritual samskaras. So therefore, Bhagavan Shankarāchārya says, Na samskaravatam vinitanam samsat. So when it is said aratihi janasamsadi, we are not talking of this satsanga, where the people who are cultured, the refined ones, the sadhakas, they gather. No, not that janasamsad. That is definitely, it's a must. Why is it a must? Tasya jnana upakarakatvat. It is very much, upakara means what? It is very much essential, necessary, it helps. The company of satsang, the association with the wise people, the noble ones, the saintly ones, it is a great help in gaining knowledge. So therefore, here when it is said arati, janasamsadi, they are not talking of satsang. They are talking of worldly gathering. Right. And then, Adhyātma-jñāna nityatvam. Nityatvam. Nityatvam means what? Constancy. Nityatvam. In what? Adhyātma-jñāna. There has to be constancy in the practice of spiritual knowledge. Every day we must have time for it. In some way or the other, maybe listening to the discourse, attending study classes, discussions, thinking on it, contemplation, all these things come under Adhyātma-jñānam only. Whatever connects you to yourself, that is Adhyātma-sādhanā. Anything which connects yourself, anything which helps you go within, abide in the self, they are all coming under Adhyātma-sādhanā. Adhyātma-jñāna nityatvam. Constantly you must practice this. Because that is the very purpose of life. There may be so many other purposes for a confused one, but for a spiritual person there is only one purpose. That is the next one. Tattva-jñāna artha-darshanam. Each and every word is so important. Darshanam, constantly may you see. Darshanam. What should you see? Artha, the purpose. Constantly may you see the purpose. Purpose of what? Tattva-jñāna, the spiritual knowledge. May you constantly see the purpose of spiritual knowledge. What is the purpose of spiritual knowledge? Moksha. What else? Liberation is the purpose. So may you constantly keep this highest goal glowing in front of you. My purpose, I have come here for a very specific purpose. The purpose is moksha, liberation. And for liberation, this knowledge is absolutely essential. So may I be consistent in my spiritual sadhana. So Adhyātma-jñāna nityatvam can happen only if there is Tattva-jñānārtha darshanam. Goal should be very clear. I have not come here for any other purpose. There may be so many other things which I am doing, but everything else is done for only this purpose. What is the purpose? Moksha is the purpose. Let me be very clear. A pure mind. This is the lakshana of a pure mind. This is the characteristic of a pure mind. Values are there and it is very clear about life. Very clear. Why am I here in this world? There is a lot of clarity. That clarity is a sign of purity. And what is Bhagavan saying now? Etat-jñānam. This is knowledge. So a mind filled with such virtues, such a mind is fit to gain this knowledge. This is the meaning. Etat-jñāna means what? These are the qualification to gain knowledge. Such a mind will easily gain the knowledge. Ajñānam yat ataha anyatha. Rest everything is ajñānam only. It is ignorance. Straight. Anything else you are doing other than all this, it is ajñānam. It is ignorance. It will not take you anywhere. It will only tie you down to this world. It will only extend your miserable days. Misery cannot come out. So now these virtues are called jnanam because these virtues become qualification to gain knowledge. Also, these virtues are natural expression of knowledge, both ways. So if you want to gain knowledge, you must have the qualification of these virtues. After gaining knowledge, these virtues become spontaneous and effortless. Before gaining knowledge, they are qualification. After gaining knowledge, they are expressions. So therefore, these virtues are called knowledge. Etat jnanam. Right. Moving further, now let us chant verse number 13. Neyam yattat pravakshyami yajñātva-amritamasnute anādimat param brahma na sattanna saduchyate neyam yattat pravakshyami yajñātva-amritamasnute anādimat param brahma na sattanna saduchyate. Yes, so jnanam is over. Now Bhagavan says, yat jñeyam tat pravakshyami. Jñeyam, that which has to be known. Now I will tell you that. So jnanam is over. Now jñeyam I will tell you. So by the way, how many topics are over? Kshetram is over. What about Kshetrajña? Not yet over. Don't forget. Bhagavan has not described Kshetrajña, only I have described. Only description of Kshetram is over, Jnanam is over. Now Bhagavan is going to describe Jñeyam, which we will find that it is nothing but Kshetrajña. Now, a beautiful introduction is given to this Jñeya Vastu. What is said? Yat Jñeyam tat pravakshyami. I will tell you what Jñeyam is, the thing to be known. Why should I know it? You should know it because yat jñātva, knowing which amritam asnute, you attain the state of immortality. Now this is a very strange statement. There is something knowing which you become immortal. What is the strangeness of this thing? How can knowledge of something make me immortal? See, if you drink this, eat this, you will become immortal. Yes, I can make some sense out of it. Maybe something is there which will extend my lifespan. But knowing something, I becoming immortal? Are you able to see the contradiction there? Not even doing, remember, just by knowing something, I become immortal. There is absolutely no connection, isn't it? So what does it imply? If just by knowing something I become immortal, it simply means that I am already immortal. What is preventing my experience of immortality? The absence of this knowledge. Absence of knowledge is what? Ignorance. Are you able to get it? Knowing something, if I become immortal, what does it imply? Ignorance is making me experience mortality. Means what? I am already immortal, but that knowledge of immortality is not there with me. Because of the absence of this knowledge, because of the ignorance, I am experiencing mortality. Otherwise, once I gain this knowledge, I discover that I am already immortal. So what is the point? The point is this: I am already immortal, but because of lack of knowledge, I am experiencing mortality. So this knowledge should be what knowledge? It has to be self-knowledge, knowledge about me. Because what is the result? I experience mortality. I experience immortality. Immortality is the property of Atma. So therefore, this knowledge has to be Ātma-jñāna. So therefore, this knowledge has to be jnana about Kshetrajña. So what is JñEYAM? Kshetrajña itself is the JñEYAM. So you conclude. Are you able to see the link? Jñeyam yattat pravakshami yajñāto amrutam-ashnute. If you just read it, you don't find any meaning there. How can knowing something make me immortal? So that means that knowledge is about me. That means that knowledge is about Atma, which is Kshetrajña. So therefore, JñEYAM equal to Kshetrajña alone. Now the description begins. What is the description of that Kshetrajña, that Atma, that Paramatma? Anādi-mat param-brahma na sat na asat uchyate. So here starts the description of that Kshetrajña, the drashta, the witnessing consciousness. What is the description? The name of that Kshetrajña is Param-Brahma. The word meaning Brahma means infinite. That's the meaning. Infinite. That's the meaning of Brahma. Brihatvat Brahma. Brahma means big. Big means how much big? Big means infinite. Yesterday we had discussed, how can you prove that the observer is infinite? What is the logic? Any limitation is drishyavastu. Correct? Accepted? If you are seeing limitation, what does it mean? If you are seeing limitation in a thing, that thing has to be drishya. If you are seeing limitation in a thing, it has to be drishya. So everything limited has to be drishya. True? Everything limited has to be drishya. If there is something which is unlimited, it has to be drashta. The logic. Drashta has to be limitless. If you think drashta has limitation, then you are seeing the limitation. If you see the limitation, it becomes drishya. So therefore, drashta cannot have limitations. No, no, Swamiji, maybe drashta has limitation and I am not aware of it. Then how can you say it has limitation if you are not aware of it? It has to be experienced, otherwise how will you know? Right? If limitation is not experienced, it means it is limitless. So we say drashta is limitless. That is called as Brahma. So when we say Brahma, don't think of some Brahman somewhere. No, it is you. Brahman. So in Sanskrit it is called as Desha-kāla-vastu-parichheda-shūnyam. That is Brahman. Devoid of any kind of limitation. Parichheda means limitation. What are the three possible limitations possible? Limitation with respect to Desha, place. Limitation with respect to Kala, time. Limitation with respect to Vastu, a thing. Limitation with respect to Desha, it's very clear. It is here, it is not there. There is a limit. For example, this body has a limit, so the boundary is the limit. That is called as Desha Parichheda. What is Kala Parichheda? Limitation with respect to time. Now it is there, later it is not there. That is limitation with respect to time. What is limitation with respect to Vastu? This is a little complicated. Limitation with respect to Vastu means this thing is a chair, therefore it is not a table. The chairness prevents it from becoming table. You understand the Vastu Parichheda? Because that thing is this, it cannot be that. Brahman is beyond that also. Why is Brahman beyond Vastu Parichheda? It is beyond Vastu Parichheda because it has no form of its own. Anything which has no form of its own can take any form. But anything which has a form of its own cannot take any form. You see, just like water. What is the form of water? It is formless. Because it is formless, it is able to take any form. So Brahman is Desha, Kala, Vastu, Parichheda. Parichheda means limitation. Shunyam. That is called as infinite. No limitations. And because it is free from limitation, it is Amrutatvam. It is free from mortality. And because it is free from limitation, it is Anadi. You see this? Anadimat. Beginningless. Beginningless and endless also. Yesterday we had seen one more thing. Because it is free from limitation, it is Ananda Swarupa also. Right. Now, this Brahman, it is Param-Brahman. Supreme. Why is it supreme? So the reason given is na sat na asat iti uchyate. It is neither sat nor is it asat. Now this is a confusing term, because generally what is the definition of Brahman? Sat, Chit, Anand. So it should be Sat, no? No, what is written here? Na Sat, na Asat. A person who reads the literal meaning of scriptures, he had it. If you try to understand the scriptures, if you try to understand Vedanta, going by the literal meaning of the word, you had it. On one side it is said Brahman is Sat, and somewhere else here it is said Brahman is not Sat. Satya Hokti now. Now what does it mean? So you must be able to understand. So let us see the example. What it means is, Brahman is that absolute existence. Sat means existence. Asat means non-existence. Brahman is that absolute existence which is giving existence to everything else, and which is making things non-existent also. That entity which is giving existence and non-existence to all entities, that supreme existence is Brahman. This is the way we have to understand. To give an example, so in the movie screen, you see a movie world. There are so many things in the movie world. Now if you are asked this question, this screen in the movie, does it exist or not? What will be your answer? So you will have to say this, na sat na asat. Does this movie screen exist in the movie? No, it is not there. There are so many things, characters are there, people are there, so many happenings are there. Screen is not there. So you will have to say, no, it doesn't exist. But then if you say, no, it exists. Where is it existing? Show me. You can't show. In the movie you can't show. But then what is that reality of that screen? Screen is that because of which every happening of the movie exists. Even the non-existent things in the movie exist because of the screen alone. So what is the reality enjoyed by the screen? So we have to say it is absolute existence. Whether the movie is there or not, screen exists. So therefore we call it absolute existence. What about the existence of the characters in the movie? In this context we can call them relative existence. So that relative existence and non-existence is what is mentioned here as Sat and Asat. So Brahman is neither Sat nor Asat means what? Brahman is something beyond whatever you see existing in this world. So let us come to the main theme now. The whole world that we see, where do we see it? The whole world that we see, it is a projection of the waking mind. See the understanding of Vedanta. These basic concepts have to be clear. What is this world? This world is a projection of our waking mind. What are the three states of the mind? Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. Jagrat avastha means waking state, Swapna means dream state, and Sushupti means deep sleep state. So these are the three states, and these three states are the projection of the mind. Mind is projecting. So what is this waking world? Don't say this is a reality. That is called ignorance. It is not reality. It is just a projection of your mind. That's all. So waking world is a state. It is not reality. It's a state of the mind. When the mind is in the waking state, it projects this world. When the mind is in the dream state, it projects the dream world. And when the mind is in the deep sleep state, it projects the deep sleep world. That's all. You cannot prove that this world is existent. No. Vedanta doesn't accept it. According to Vedanta, this is a state experienced when the mind is in the waking state. That's all. So the whole world is existing in the waking mind. Mind is nothing but the flow of thoughts. Right? That mind, where is it existing? That mind is existing in consciousness. So the whole waking world is existing where? In consciousness, which is called as Brahman here. So, who is giving reality to this world? Consciousness is giving reality. That is called as Paramasat. If this world is considered Sat, then that consciousness we have to say Paramasat. The supreme existence, absolute existence, which is giving existence to the relative existence of this world. So, when I am seeing this watch, what will you say? Watch is. Is means what? It exists. Who is giving existence to this watch? So I will have to say, consciousness is giving existence to this watch. I am, therefore it is. Heavy dose. I am, therefore it is. Means what? Without me, it has no existence. Me means what? Not this physical entity. The consciousness. It is exactly like the whole dream world is existing where? In the waker. Waker is giving existence to the entire dream world. So everything in the dream world exists because of whom? Because of the waker. So waker's existence is absolute existence. The existence of the dream entities, the dream world, the dream person, the dream happening, etc., etc., that existence is only relative. So if you ask, in the dream, what is the status of the waker? Is it Sat or Asat? What will you say? It is neither Sat nor Asat. It is that Sat which is giving existence and non-existence to everything in the dream. Yes or no? It's a different level of existence. In the same way, this consciousness in me is that entity which is giving existence to the world, not only the waking world, but also to the dream world. So this is Supreme Sat, the absolute Sat, Paramasat. Are you able to understand? See the glory of Kshetrajña in you. See the glory of the self in you. It is infinite. It is because of this self in you that the whole world is existing. But the moment that consciousness identifies with a BMI, what happens? Gone! That waker who is supporting the entire dream, when that waker identifies with that particular dream body in the dream world, what happens? Finished. He becomes an insignificant creature in that dream world. Yes or no? Who is that dreamer? He is none other than the waker, upon whom the whole world is existing. But the moment he makes that one mistake, what is that mistake? Identification. With what? With the dream body in the dream. The moment waker identifies with that dream body in the dream, he becomes a dreamer. Now he is not the supporter of the dream world, he is supported by the dream world. Yes or no? He becomes an insignificant creature, worrying about everything, tensed about everything. In the same way, that Paramatma, the Satchidananda Atma, when it identifies with this BMI, what happens? You no longer become the supporter of the world, you become an entity supported by the world. That is what is being discussed now. So this na sat na asat iti uchyate, it is further elaborated in the next verse. Let us chant verse number 14. Sarvatah panipadam tat sarvatokshishiro mukham sarvatah shrutimaloke sarvamavritya tisthati sarvatah panipadam tat sarvatokshishiro mukham sarvatah shrutimaloke sarvamavritya tisthati. Loke sarvam avritya tisthati. This is the glory of that Brahman, that consciousness. What is it doing? Sarvam avritya, pervading everything. Loke, in this world, tisthati, it stays. So what is that Brahman? It is that consciousness in us, that witness in us, which is pervading the whole world. Exactly like the waker pervading the dream world. The dream world has no independent existence. It has only a borrowed existence. Where is the dream world borrowing its existence from? From the existence of waker. So what is the existence enjoyed by the waker? In that context, that existence is independent existence, absolute existence. That existence which can never become non-existent. The dream world, it is existing when the dream is there. When the dream is over, that existence goes. It borrows that existence. It is not its original independent existence. It is only borrowed existence. What about the waker? It is independent existence. What is the proof? Even after the dream, waker exists. Existence of the waker has nothing to do with the existence of the dream. So it is called as independent existence. It is called as absolute existence. In the same way, it doesn't matter whether the mind is projecting the waking world or the dream world or the deep sleep world. It doesn't matter. Consciousness is ever existing. So consciousness existence is absolute existence and independent existence. Also effortless existence. Because existence is its nature. So loke sarvam avritya tishtati. It pervades everything. Why? In the world, everything has got easiness. Existence is called easiness. This is, that is, the table is, the mic is. From where is it getting the ease from? It is getting from that consciousness. Consciousness is, therefore everything is. So therefore we have to say, this consciousness pervades the whole world. Sarvam avritya tishtati. Therefore, sarvatah panipadam, whatever hands and legs you see, it belongs to this consciousness. Sarvatah akshi, shirah, mukham. Akshi, eyes, shira, head, mukham, face. Sarvatah shrutimat, all the ears. So whatever organ you see, whether karmendriyas or jnanendriyas, they exist because of consciousness. So all the karmendriyas and jnanendriyas belong to consciousness. Exactly like all the hands and legs in the dream belong to the waker. Why? Because the waker is giving existence to all the hands and legs. It's a different way of saying, that's all. Everything exists because of consciousness. Right? Such is the glory of the self. Everything exists because of me. This is the way you should say. Not the stupid I, but the infinite I, the drashta. See the glory of the self. So when I say Aham Brahmasmi, it's a small statement, but it's a Mahavakya it is. Nothing can exist without me. I give existence. Billions of light years away, I see some stars there. Those stars are also existing because of me. You see? The whole world is born out of me, exist in me, they dissolve in me. I am that existence, that consciousness, which is unaffected by all these illusory changes. I am like that screen. In the movie, fire may be there, flood may be there, tsunami may be there. What happens to the screen? Nothing happens. I am that screen. You see the power of that knowledge. Just imagine the power of a person who has this knowledge. Unbelievable. That is what is said here. Sarvamavritya tishtati. To the extent you go deep within, to the extent you can identify with that immortal essence in you, that power starts exhibiting through you. See the next verse. Sarvendriya gunabhasam Sarvendriya vivarjitam Asaktam sarvabhrachaiva Nirgunam gunabhoktrucha Bahirantascha bhutanam Acharam charamevacha Sukshmatvat tadavijñeyam Durastham chantike cha tat Sarvendriya gunabhasam Sarvendriya vivarjitam Asaktam sarvabhrachaiva Nirgunam gunabhoktrucha Bahirantascha bhutanam Sukshmatvat tadavijñeyam Durastham chantike cha tat. Yes, what a big difference knowledge makes. The glory is mentioned here. That Paramatma, what is the nature? Sarvendriya vivarjitam. Without any indriya, it is able to know everything. It is sarvajña. It doesn't need any indriya to know. It knows all. Why? Because knowing is its nature. Chit Swarupa it is. But that Paramatma, the moment it identifies with his BMI, what happens to him? Sarvendriya gunabhasa. Now this fellow is there, little puny fellow, experiencing Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa Gandha. Now this is called as Indriya Guna. Shabda is a guna of Shrotrendriya. Shabda Sparsha. Sparsha is the guna of Tvagi Indriya. So they are all called Indriya Guna. Abhasa means to experience. So that Paramatma identified with the BMI, now what is he doing? Experiencing the gunas of the Indriyas. Means what? All of us. Enjoying a cup of tea. What is this fellow doing? Sarvendriya gunabhasa. Actually, who is he? Sarvendriya vivarjitam. Who is he? Asaktam, unaffected, unattached. But the moment he becomes attached to this BMI, not asaktam, but asaktam. Isn't it? Just the opposite. Who is this Paramatma? Sarvabhrit, the supporter of the whole world. But the moment he identifies with the BMI, what he becomes? It is not Sarvabhrit, it is Sarvaihi Bhrit. Supported by all. The supporter of all becomes supported by all. That consciousness which is nirgunam, which has no gunas at all, free from any trace of prakriti, any trace of kshetra, that very same Paramatma, what he becomes? Gunabhoktru. He becomes Gunabhokta. From where to where is the fall? That's what you have to understand from this verse. The supporter of the world becomes supported by the world. You see? The Ananda Swarupa Paramatma becomes Dukkha Swarupa Jivatma, limited, finite, imperfect. Gunabhokta means what? Experiencing Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasagandha, experiencing Sukha, Dukkha, Labha, Nashta, Mana, Apamana. This is called as Gunabhokta. Actually, who is he? Nirgunam. Bahirantascha bhutanam acharam charamevacha. What is the glory of Paramatma? He is there inside and out. But the moment you identify with this BMI, what happens? Not inside and out, only inside. Where do we find ourselves? Inside this little body. This is called as degradation, fall, spiritual fall. The Infinite One now experiences himself inside, limited, finite, miserable, a slave of the senses. Who is this Jivatma? He is none other than Paramatma only. There is no difference at all. But then why is it that I am not able to experience my infinite nature? So the reason is given here. Sukshmatvat tat avitneyam. That Paramatma is my own higher nature. It's my own self. But avitneyam. I am not able to know him. Why? Because that Paramatma is sukshmatvat, is subtle. It's a very subtle truth. Very subtle truth. So therefore, if you have to experience his presence, the mind has to be equally subtle. Only a subtle mind can experience the subtle truth. That is why we need Chitta Shuddhi and Chitta Ekagrata. Only a subtle mind. The more and more the mind becomes pure, the more and more the mind becomes subtle. Such a mind, such a subtle mind is able to experience that truth. How to attain purity of mind? Those values. Then that mind becomes Sukshma. Durastham cha antike chatat. Here Bhagavan Shankarāchārya makes a beautiful statement. Avidnyātataya durastham varsha sahasra kotyapi avidusham aprapyatvat antike cha atmatvat vidusham. He says, a person who doesn't know anything about this, a sensuous person, for him, this self, this Paramatma is durastham. Means what? Varsha sahasra kotyapi. He may try for thousands of crores of years, but it will remain far only. But the one who has prepared the mind, the one who knows where to search, for him, even Antike is a wrong term. It is near, even that term is wrong. It is one's own self. It is me, myself. To such extent it is near. Right. So see the glory of spiritual knowledge. How much will you thank the Guru Parampara for giving this knowledge? To what extent should we express our gratitude for the teachers? The glory of knowledge is understood when you know what happens when this knowledge is not there. That is the glory of knowledge. That Paramatma, because of this lack of knowledge, is now crawling like a worm as Jivatma. See the glory. Any amount of gratitude is less. Right, we will continue further tomorrow. Shankara Guru Jaya Shankara Guru Shankara Guru Shankara Bhagavat Pada Shankara Guru Shankara Guru Jaya Shankara Guru शंकर भगवत्पाद शंकर गुरो शंकर गुरो शंकर गुरो शंकर भगवत्पाद शंकर गुरो अपार महिमा गुरुनाथ अपार कृपा सागरा गुरुनाथ गुरुनाथ जय गुरुनाथ सद्गुरुनाथ गुरुनाथ 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 सद्गुरुनाथ गुरुनाथ दीन दयालो गुरुनाथ दीन परिपूर्ण कृपालो गुरुनाथ परिपूर्ण गुरुनाथ जय गुरुनाथ सद्गुरुनाथ गुरुनाथ 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 सद्गुरुनाथ गुरुनाथ शंकर गुरु जय शंकर गुरु शंकर गुरु शंकर भगवत्पाद शंकर गुरु शंकर भगवत्पाद शंकर गुरु ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ